Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Last week I was confused. Today is Wednesday, the 15th of June. You're at Connor O'Neill's in Ann Arbor, and you are at LA2M.
And if you're not, change your plan.
Yeah, you could. And if you lived here, you'd be home. No, it's not. Hello, welcome to LA2M. As you all know by now, we are a non-profit organization. I'm going to go there first so we can start passing a little hat, or jars at work. As a non-profit, we are subsidized and supported by our attendees and members. And so what we will do is pass a little jar. You don't have to contribute, but if you could, it'd be great. $3 is what sort of feels good these days. So we're going to start the jar. Stacy, our wonderful and lovely treasurer, will start it. Thank you. Anybody new? Anyone new today? New people attending? Yay! We like new people. We love familiar people too, so welcome everyone. We're glad you're here. Today, anybody have any big announcements they'd like to make today? Tiffany, do you have a big announcement you'd like to make today? Our very own LA2M/Independence Digital Marketing.
Hi, so I'm Tiffany Reisner at Tiffany Reisner. A lot of you know me from the past year or so that I've been here at LA2M and at IngenX. So my news is that this is going to be my last day at LA2M and at IngenX. I've accepted another position at Domino's Corporate, helping with their internal communications and building out a social media presence with their internal communications. So LA2M is near and dear to my heart. This is where I got my start. I came in off the streets one day and had heard about this LA2M event. And I met Derek Maribon, who gave me my start, gave me my job in digital marketing. And from there, I've been able to take a pretty nice step in my career. So thank you to everyone who I've met along the way, who's helped support LA2M and IngenX. And it's been a pleasure working with you, so thank you very much.
She sounds like she's going away, but we're going to try and make sure she still shows up here. I think she will, but she's obviously very excited. So thanks to me to everything you've added to this. It's been momentous, big. Thanks. All right, today I'm really excited to introduce one of our very own. AJ Dietz comes to our meetings regularly. You probably meet him. You've probably heard him do his thing at the end of the program. And he's here today to talk about something that's exciting and important to all of us. So he's going to do his 30-minute or so talk. We'll do a 10 or 15-minute question and answer period, and then we'll go around the room, and everyone will stand up and introduce themselves, tell everybody what they do, how they may be able to help, or what sort of help they may need in moving forward in their business situation. So, AJ Dietz, I'm going to introduce him. He's here. He's president of LovingWorks LLC. He'll tell you a little bit about that, as he loves to do, and he does it well. But today he's going to talk about content, beyond the expected. And it's content is king, as they say in any media, and it is today as much as ever. So with that, I'll let you listen to AJ Dietz, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know if this is functioning. How are we sounding back there? Can you hear me okay?
Good.
All right, great. Well, welcome, and thanks so much for coming today. You're in for a real treat, because normally what happens up here is people talk about wonderful, new, bright, shiny objects. And those are great, and those are very helpful, and learning about those tools are great, but if you're like me, when you start getting involved in social media, whether you run a small company or you've got a specific marketing job, etc., is that what do you write about? What is it that you really want to present? How do you do that? And so we're going to give you a tool, we're going to give you a model, and to give you a couple of examples of how you'll be able to better comprehend what's going to work, and it's going to get you beyond what's expected, because if you only do what's expected, you'll find out very quickly that that is the path to ruin. Now, you see people walking around here in the program, each week or occasionally. I'm relatively new to 4 or 5 of these. So who is this person? So I just want to give you a brief background, especially since I have an industrial engineering undergrad, and I'm kind of sequential, systematic, and I start from the beginning, go to the middle, before I can get to the end, so don't interrupt me because I'll have to start over again. So I'm an IE industrial system engineer, and then I've got a marketing background at the University of Michigan. I taught as an adjunct instructor for a little while until I realized they didn't pay very well. When when I was at General Motors, I was in the marketing department. I had Leo Burnett was the agency of record. And then after I left GM, I was doing consulting, including selling into advertising. And what I found very quickly is that it's better to be the client. So eventually I picked up a position as a market research director at one of the third largest market research company on the planet, GfK out of Germany. And I was working in automotive as well as in consumer packaged goods, learning how do you predict what people are going to want to buy 2 to 3 years before it comes out, but also be able to predict how people are going to get market share. And a lot of that has to do with, are people aware of who you are? Are they familiar with that? Do they have an opinion about you even before they start shopping? And so that type of information is really important to just hold on the side and think about that. Are people aware of you and your personal brand or your company's brand? Are they familiar with it? And do they have an opinion about it? So we're going to talk about using content. Of course, one of the things that happened is I have this personal philosophy, and I jumped ahead, is that why use 25 words when 250 will do? So when the internet came along, I had to really learn how to shorten things up. That's what this picture was. Because now you have to learn to say things in 1 word or less. And sometimes pictures will do that. So we're thinking about content marketing. So I said, well, let's go to the expert, the gospel of all definitions, Wikipedia. What is content marketing? Well, I loved it because there are a lot of words, more than 250. So what I saw, though, is that content marketing is actually delivering this high quality, relevant, and valuable information. And what you're trying to do is to keep people's attention and to give them value, because you want to improve loyalty and perhaps persuade decisions. But the purpose of this content marketing, is not to talk about your product or your service. It is so weird. What do you mean I can't talk about my product or service? No, that's advertising. So content marketing, you have to deliver something different. Specifically, you want to deliver some things that can cause you to be seen as an expert. That's the object or the purpose of content marketing. Of all social media, all of this stuff is you have to figure out what kind of expertise you have and then how you're going to deliver that. And the idea is as you build that expertise, people will come and recognize you and then start buying your service or your product or referring you because they have a relationship if they can figure out that you're authentic. So there's a little problem with all of the wonderful, bright, shiny objects of content marketing. And by that I mean everything from blogging to social media to well, everything out there that we talk about every week here. Is that's just one part of your whole marketing communication strategy. There's other things. There's advertising and PR and sales. Imagine that. And there's sales, online marketing, direct marketing. There's all of these other things that when you're a company you have to make sure are operating, and you can't get distracted, but at the same time you want to utilize content marketing for your benefit. Now, if you're responsible for overall marketing, that's just one little area. As a part of communications, you also have product and product development responsibilities and distribution and a bunch of other things, pricing and a few other things as well. And then if you run a small business, you also have to have operations and research and development and finance, as well as marketing and sales, and do all those other things, and somehow have time to send out some tweets and update a blog and make sure your Facebook has at least something decent on there for your company's page, of course. So as you can see, for those of us who are maybe suppliers into the social media space or into the whole online marketing aspect, when you're talking with someone who is either running a marketing department or who is running a small business, they have a lot to do. So that idea of 1 word or less, or getting your content out there in a way that's really going to attract them or really going to demonstrate what you can do is really important. In fact, it's more important than all of the other bright, shiny objects that we talk about every week. But yet, when I look at the audience here, I love it that you're all here. We've seen this standing room only when we're talking about how to optimize your Twitter or how to make sure that you've got your, I think last week it was packed. So I want to congratulate all of you because you recognize there's more to it than just the object. So what if you could find a way where you could tie your message, your product, your service such a way that you could create an increased emotional response? It would be pretty good, wouldn't it? It'd be worth a lot of money to you, wouldn't it? This is when you're supposed to say yes. So I want to remind you, this is principle number 3 of marketing, which is that all that you do, your product, your service, your information, your message, all it really is a bundle of benefits. That one consulting organization, that research group I did where we were able to predict, in fact this is an Ann Arbor company, Arbor Consulting previously, that was picked up by GFK. They had a model, they could predict what people were going to buy 2 to 3 years before it came on the market. And the way they were able to figure that out is that they were able to look at the specific messages that were coming and showing up in different places today, and then they could then project that and see, green tea is today in toothpaste, and tomorrow it's going to be in tennis shoes, or whatever specific. So your messaging is really important, but it also, you need to understand it's not just the process you work with or your product, but you're really just selling or presenting a bundle of benefits. And your customer is going to give you their attention and their time, and preferably cash, when you can both meet what they want and what they need, but also they're not turned off by what you're saying. So that both having and not having information is really important. And we're going to give you a tool now, developed by this gentleman, Dr. Noriaki Kano. Now, Noriaki Kano, he's a PhD, he's a quality expert in Japan, he's revered. He's revered like Deming was. How many people know who Deming was? Very good. So, amazing. He did this research in the mid-80s. And he used Hertzberg's two-factor hygiene motivation theory. How many are familiar with that? A couple of you. Very good. We're going to talk about that because it's very helpful to understand how we can connect to satisfaction, to an emotional response from our target audience, from our customers. Such an interesting fellow. I met him one time and I was asking him, how did you develop this kind of model? He said, I didn't. He said, I did this research, and a couple years later I was coming to the United States, and some people were really excited about this thing called this Kano model that's really very helpful, and it's really been making a big impact in their business. And he thought, my, this Kano person must be really smart. Has the same last name as I do. He never even realized that his research had turned into this worldwide phenomenon. Now, what was it that Hertzberg studied and postulated in the 50s? Basically, the two-factor hygiene motivation theory said that the absence of dissatisfaction is not satisfaction. If you're not dissatisfied, it doesn't mean you're satisfied. Instead, what it means is you're neutral. Now, that's very interesting. So let's take a look at how we can apply it. All right, let's do feelings of increasing dissatisfaction. Let's say you had an experience with a restaurant here in town, and you're just from neutral, just slightly less satisfied with your experience. What's the emotion you're feeling?
Disappointment.
Disappointment? Well, I might say maybe even unhappy. Now, what's the next level? Very unhappy. But actually, there's a whole series, right, that we can talk. We can go from disappointed, we can go to annoyed, irritated, upset, angry, then mad, or is it mad, then angry? Which one is it? Get mad, then angry, or angry, then mad? Get mad first, then angry. And then, interestingly, you get enraged, and you get outraged. Now, most of us don't spend any time there, but you've seen people that get to this level of negative emotional dissatisfaction. There's one final level, but once you get past outrage, you know what the worst level of negative customer dissatisfaction is? Postal. Now that's a 80s, 90s term. So it used to be when you worked at the post office, you didn't like it, you go in and take out a couple of supervisors. All right, so now let's look at increasing satisfaction. Okay, these are increasing feelings of satisfaction. Happy might be the first one. What comes next?
Very happy.
Very happy. Thank you very much. But actually, there's a whole series. If you started just where you're just slightly above neutral in positive satisfaction, you might find that we'd be pleased, and then maybe tickled, perhaps delighted, then thrilled, joyed, overjoyed, and then ecstatic. What comes after ecstatic?
Dead.
Quitting the post office. All right, so what Kano said, and he postulated in his experiments with televisions and alarm clocks, he studied consumer goods, was that if you looked at this variation of ever-increasing satisfaction and ever-increasing dissatisfaction, and you compared it to how well you executed, how well you did your job, the degree of completion, what you would find is that there'd be different kinds of ways to evaluate your success with your product or your degree of completion based on the criteria or the characteristic of that experience. So what does that mean? Well, there's a number of characteristics of everything we interact with that are expected. Okay, by that, what do we mean? Well, for example, say we execute something that's done quite well, but it's something that's expected. We didn't do it 100%, maybe 98%. Barely screwed up hardly at all. We did basically a really good job, but yet it's going to generate some degree of unhappiness. And then if we have maybe a slightly worse execution, someone could get totally upset. Like one example is that getting your paycheck on time in the right amount. How pleased are you that you get your paycheck every week on time? Not pleased at all, right? You expect it. What happens if it's late for even one day? Or if the amount is wrong? Holy mackerel, look out. Right? People can get pretty upset pretty quick. Wait a minute. But yet somebody has to do a whole bunch of things to make sure that check is right, to make sure that that invoice is paid properly, and to make sure it's done on time every single time. So if you've ever been noticed that you've heard people say something like this: you can do 99 things right around here, and do one lousy thing wrong, and they're all over you. What that person is talking about are things that are expected. Your job description, that's expected. So if you just show up and do everything that is on the description, all you're doing is the minimum. Don't do those things, someone's going to be upset. Do those things, no one's going to give you an attaboy or an attagirl or any kind of positive contribution because you're only doing what's expected. The second curve that Kano talked about translates roughly into performance. These are things that we can compare and see whether something is differentiatable, or it positions different brands. So, for example, if we do something fairly well, we execute, it might result in a customer or client or someone feeling quite happy, and then we do a substantial improvement, and maybe they're tickled. But you really got to work hard to really create some type of an effect that is a very strong positive emotion. Because these characteristics are things that we encounter all the time when we make comparisons. So there might be features on your product or your service. It might be price, quality, or delivery. Like, for example, when you order something on the internet, how long should it take to reach you?
Yesterday.
Okay. My expectation, here's the expectation over here is yesterday, right? So if I get it in a day, if I get it the next day, how do you feel?
Good.
Feel pretty good, right? It's like, wow, these people are great. But if you get it in a week, it's not that you feel necessarily negative, but you recognize it's not great performance. Right? So if you get free shipping on something that you're buying, how do you feel? That's a positive thing, right? If you have two things to buy and one gives you free shipping, one gives you standard shipping, you got to pay extra, it's obvious you're going to go for the free shipping. But so it's differentiatable. So these things vary based on what we're looking at, but at the same time, they allow us to make comparisons. Stick with me on all this. I'm going to pay all this off. And then finally, Kano talked about exciters. And so what this meant is that with just a little bit of activity and doing a little bit better, you could create a very positive and amazing experience. So the example here might be powered car doors when the iPhone came out, flip cam, even the Post-it note. So one other thing about this model, though, is that what was exciting yesterday and totally juiced becomes a differentiator today, and tomorrow becomes expected. Right? We almost expect it to be no shipping charge now, right? Because that was a differentiatable yesterday, but today it's like, you're charging shipping? Are you nuts? Smartphones. Can you sell anything other than a smartphone now? Well, there's a small market niche, but if you don't have a smartphone was amazing 5 years ago. Right? 5 years later now, it's expected. So the Kano model teaches us about expected, about things that differentiate, and then also things that are really exciting and can be new and surprising to some. But we got to run this business. We got all these things to do, so how do we apply this? The key areas is that if you want to generate something that's exciting in your content, exciting about your product, you have to innovate. It's something that, I'm going to jump to the next slide. This is something that you can't research, that you can't talk to people about. You have to use your expertise and decide that this is going to meet a need, this is going to meet a want, this is something that's going to make a difference. And then you come out with that specific message, service, product, whatever it might be. You can't research it, you can't validate it. People will only know that this is amazing and surprisingly awesome when they experience it. Something that is comparative or competitive, something that will differentiate you, is something you have to research. And so you really need to know what's going on with your competition, as well as what's going on in the marketplace. One of the best tools out there is Google Alerts. If you're not currently getting Google Alerts, you're missing an amazing competitive tool. I used to do competitive analysis when I was at GM. It was so difficult to collect information and move it along. And this sends you something in a digest form every day based on keywords, and it's the most valuable competitive tool that you can find. And then when you get complaints, pay attention to those, because they're going to reveal what's expected by your customers, by your clients, and what you'll find is that if you're falling down, this is a major area that you need to correct. If you don't, you will suffer some very challenging impact. So what about our content marketing though? How can we apply this to our content? Well, if you think about it, if you want to become more of an innovative person, you got to talk about stuff that's new. You got to talk things that are representing yourself as an authentic expert. If you want to generate performance or comparisons, talk about what people are liking or disliking. Point out, reviews. Point out things that provide value to help people make choices, because that's what performance content is all about, is making choices. And then, if you're going to deal with things that are expected, tell stories. Tell stories about how resolution or things got taken care of, but avoid the mundane, because when we get into mundane content, people expect us to not have mundane content and you get shut off. So, I just wanted to mention this as well, as far as the application to your career. The same model can be applied with what you do in your career, if you're working for someone, even if you're with your customer. Is that make sure you discover what is expected and do those first. So for example, if showing up on time every day is expected, make sure you do that. Sounds kind of funny, but some people miss these small things. You want to make sure you do what's expected before you go and start trying to differentiate yourself and show that you've got really big ideas. When I was at General Motors, I brought a marketing idea that would have given my division a 10-year competitive advantage. 10-year competitive advantage. Highly innovative, an amazing idea, and guess what my management did? They rejected it totally. Why is that? Because I didn't realize this content. Just that I had missed and wasn't doing what was expected. And they were small things. And so, since you can imagine your superiors or the leaders of your company, well, if they can't even do this, how can they be ready for this? Or how can this idea be of value? So, thank you. I wanted to show just a couple of examples of content, just to give you an example of something that's an exciter versus something that is both exciting but also falls into an avoidable expected. So most of us know Bear Grylls. Anybody not know Bear Grylls, Man vs. Wild? Okay, amazing television program. 277,000 followers on Twitter. So what is he doing besides the fact he's a personality that is generating so many followers? He has a great television show. This is awesome. But as an individual, he's an amazing social marketer. He's an amazing content marketing guy, because he's providing things you wouldn't expect to get from someone who is so popular and so successful. So here's just a recent, back in June, I noticed. So this is one of his tweets. I'm killing time at the Portland airport. Found a piano. waiting to be arrested. And then right above it, busted. So when you click on these pictures, this was the first picture. Waiting to be arrested. Okay, now here's the second picture. Now, what is happening with Bear Grylls? With just this very simple piece of content. He is revealing so much about who he is, right? We can relate that he saw piano, he loves to play piano, so he's sneaking in, he's trying to get away with something, and then he's busted. Except look at the security guards; they all want to be seen with the movie star or with the television star. So, but as a follower, you get in on that authentic experience. This has nothing to do with what he's really selling, but it has to do with revealing who he is. The next day, he had this statement that he was for. Survival tip for life, right? He's the survival person. Never worry about numbers. Help one person at a time and always start with the person nearest to you. That has been retweeted all over the place. Has nothing to do, it ties his survival show in, but yet it is a very positive message. Reveals a lot about the person. It's an authentic piece of information, and it grabbed people. So here's somebody that is doing something very exciting. So I wanted to grab just another example of somebody who's more local. I don't know if Charlie's spoken here. Okay, Charlie is a master at Twitter. 25,000 tweets. 25,000. And none of them are on automatic. He does all these. It's incredible. 10,000 followers with Charlie. So Charlie, what he does, his method is that he grabs a topic each day and then he adds 6, 8, or 10 thoughts to it in 140 characters. In addition, he's constantly connecting people. So he's growing and building an amazing content marketing example. But even he can fall down and do something that we wouldn't expect, or that would cause us to become a little bit annoyed. So I noticed here just briefly, he's having a conversation with one of his guys that he promotes, Elijah Young. So, Elijah Young says, well, next Tuesday, and Charlie says, oh, my bad, I thought it was every Tuesday. And then Elijah comes back, it will be, but just this Tuesday we're off. Did you send me your email, Addie? So they're having a personal conversation on Twitter. Not good, right? It's a waste of everybody's time. 10,000 people have to hear about this. So he fell down briefly, bumped his head, and had a conversation that didn't add any value because it was convenient, and he got that first response from his other content. So most people are not going to fall off as a follower because of something small like this. But if you have several of these, or if you have a number of these where you're doing something mundane, or you're doing something that is not what people expect, or actually you have to do what people expect, which is to add value. If you don't, if you're saying, hey, I'm over here at Kroger store, you're not going to build a following for your brand that way. So today I just wanted to give you a tool in 30 minutes. There's a lot of material. I wasn't able to get as deep as we perhaps could to apply it, but recognize that this Kano model has a way of understanding that certain characteristics of your service, your product, even your message, has things that you need to match people's expectations, and then you have to exceed that in order to show that you're competitive or that you have a stronger position or that you are generating something exciting. If you can do that, you will increase the amount of emotional response people have with you, with your message, with your brand, with your product or service. And when you're able to do that, you're well on your way to tremendous success. Thank you.
That's as shiny as it gets. I think AJ's right. We talk about a lot of technologically sort of pertinent and new things, but that's as basic as it gets, and yet at the same time, it's easy but not necessarily simple. So I love that. And again, being a broadcast industry sort of person, the whole thing about content being king is as important in a personal situation, marketing your own brand, as it is when you're trying to sell automobiles or whatever it is. So that's awesome. Again, let's give another round of applause. That was great. any questions? We got a little question and answer time here, and be happy to pass the mic around. Any questions?
It's beyond my expectation. I think everybody agrees. Is that right?
Yeah.
I have a question to ask you. You brought a very good picture, 2 pictures, tell personality of the guys and PJ. Thank you. But the problem in my business, tiny light, is a text message will be put out on the street. Several words, not pictures. Now, how can I deliver the relevant information in the general public? Very few, let's say less than 20 characters. Can you give me the answer beyond my expectation? Thank you.
Oh, that's easy. If you remember our principle number 3, when you're an inventor, when you're a small business, you've got this greatest idea. And you know it's going to just revolutionize the communication in nightclubs, out in the street, in restaurants. You've got this great, tiny, bright lights that is going to just change the world. But you're so tied to the product, you're so tied to what it took you to get to this invention, to this point, that you're forgetting principle number 3. That no one cares about your tiny little lights. What they care about is what is it going to give them? What's the benefit that it's going to pay off in exchange for their attention, their time, and their money? And so spend more time thinking about what's the payoff? How does it make their life easier? What is it that it's going to do for them? How is it going to increase their business if it's at a restaurant? How is it going to draw crowds if it's at, an opening event? Instead of paying for a big spotlight, you can have all these little tiny lights. Whatever the specific application, what are you getting out of it? And if you spend more time there, your secret will become revealed.
They say that the test is in the pudding, the taste is in the pudding. So I came because I was intrigued by your weight loss and sleep expert. And so can you give us a concrete illustration about the principles that you just espoused?
Is that a plant?
No, it's not a plan. Thank you. So the question is, how is this model being used by Love and Works? And how do we recognize, how do we apply it? Well, one of the first things we do is we have to be very understandable and clear about what's going on in our competition. So that when we communicate our key messages, that we're touching on things that differentiate ourselves or perhaps drive some excitement. And so one of the things that we've learned by using Google Alerts as a wonderful competitive tool is, what is everybody else selling? And originally we had an idea that our product is all natural, and what it does is helps you to release weight. So you would release 10 to 25 pounds per month in a simple, easy, safe way. That was our message. But people don't connect with releasing weight, even though it makes sense, right? If you lose weight, your subconscious mind might think it lost something, go pick it up and put it back on. So releasing it, letting it go makes sense. But no one talks that way. So here we are looking at our own tiny little lights, releasing weight. That's our message. But nobody knows it. So we had to recognize that what people expect is they want to connect where they start, where they are from, not where you are from. Especially if you have something new. So innovation is really important, but if it's too new that people don't understand it, they won't connect. So we've changed our entree into weight loss, even though we don't agree with losing weight. And what's happened then is that people can understand who we are. Oh, you're the weight loss people. And then we can take you from there and learn some of the other differences about our product. So that's one example of how we've applied this process against our own company.
You were still talking about the principle. I just want to see what are the exact words and what kind of ad or whatever you have.
Oh, I didn't bring anything like that for today.
Because I still have no idea what you're selling. You're selling a pill, or you're selling a diet system, or
right. Well, today I'm not selling anything. Today I'm doing an example of content marketing. I'm here to share with you an idea that I feel will help you in what you're trying to do, both in your product, service, even your career, that has nothing to do with weight loss or sleep. I don't even mention it. That's what content marketing is adding value to people, creating a connection to the brand such that, you know, maybe I will go check out that weight loss. Then we'll have that conversation separately. Does that make sense? Yes.
I just want to follow up on the thread that she started to pull on. Sometimes when I've tried to sell benefits, people automatically want to jump to what is the tool. So you're selling a benefit of weight loss and sleep. So now she wants to know, is it a bed, is it a tool, a pill, what is it? Because she instantly wants to categorize you, right?
Right.
So you want to do this indirect sell the benefit, and I get it. What's been your experience about how you keep them from jumping to the conclusion when you say, well, it's a pill, or it's a bed, or it's an exercise
Great
bar?
question. When I get that question, that person has already moved from I'm aware, I want to get more familiar, so I can have an opinion.
Right.
And see, before people will start shopping and then making a buying decision, they have to know who you are, get familiar with where you are, and categorize you. It's okay to be categorized.
Okay.
That's the thing that we thought originally that we shouldn't be categorized because we're different.
Okay.
But we're so different that people didn't get us. So now what we've learned is that we have to connect with where people are and then lead them to where we want them to go.
So you're not objecting to them trying to categorize you. That's
Not
part
at
of your
all.
goal. Awareness,
Not at all.
interest.
Not because, okay, you're a weight loss guy. I'm not interested in weight loss. I don't need anybody, so I don't need to talk to you. Great. I'm not wasting your time, you're not wasting mine.
Right.
I'm not trying to sell you something that you don't need, right? A great salesperson is always qualifying and making sure, and when people start asking you questions about your stuff, they're self-qualifying and demonstrating that they're ready to learn more about you. It may end in a no sale or a no relationship, but they're taken from a, oh, what are you about? Oh, well, tell me more.
Right.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
So now a negative example of that, at least in my mind, is some of these, I'll call them pyramid sales programs,
Sure.
big companies, one of them located in Michigan, that the pitch is they sell benefits, but they don't want to tell you what it is. Because everybody knows when they say the magic word,
Right. Quick
So
start, yes.
they're trying to avoid that. So what are your thoughts about that because of negative association? So it's almost like, is it a misdirection or is it
Well, the best thing to think about for all of us in this room is to be authentic. That's where we are right now in this time in 2011 and going forward. We're in a phase of marketing that requires people and brands to be authentic. And if they're not, if they're bait and switch, or if they're telling you this but they're really that, there's not long-term success in that mode, in that model. Because people are too smart now. There's too much information. It's too easy to find all kinds of referrals and all kinds of information on the web. So if you can't be direct and straight up and transparent to people, then you have no business being in business. And people will tell you. And that's the beautiful thing about social media, is you get instant feedback. You get metrics on how many people are following you, how many people are looking at your stuff, how many people are clicking on your website. You get all that and you can see, is what I'm doing, is it growing? Like I have all of 30 followers on Twitter now. But I used to, for a year I had 16. Now that doesn't sound like anything, it's funny, but for me it's like, I'm starting to do something different, and hence I'm starting to do something right. So I got to try something, and part of it is just that transparency and being direct.
Yep.
So that's how I would respond. If someone gives me a bait and switch, I'm heading for it.
Good.
Yes.
What are the biggest problems that I see?
One of the biggest problems that I see is that businesses think that a website needs to look like a brochure, and they're not sold on the idea that they should be putting out all this content on the web. And another thing that I see, especially when I'm talking to small business owners, is that they don't have the time to put all this content out there. How do you suggest that businesses get all this massive amount of content on the web in order to leverage and establish their expertise out there in the marketplace?
That's a wonderful question. Where are you going to get the time? Because I wanted to remind all of us with those those Venn diagrams that, you know, content marketing is one of 9 different marketing communication things. It's part of 4 other aspects of marketing and more, and then it's a part of, you know, it's merely a fraction of what small business owners have to do every day. And so it comes down to 2 things. One is you have to show the payoff for it. And then secondly, you have to make it easy. So if you're a developer, if you're a supplier into this space and you want to create great websites or you want to sell more of your services, you've just identified the key need that nobody's figured out yet. How do we get the content out there? There's a service waiting to be done, folks who are into this space, is let me go do it for you and then we'll negotiate the amount. What I've had to do in order to get, I mean, you see here we've got email and a website and a blog and a Twitter and a Facebook, and we put a form up here. It's a lot of work. But we're just starting to see engagement now. We went from just advertising on Facebook and social media, no response, nothing. So now we're starting to get engagement, and now I've just had the first 1 or 2 people who are asking about, tell me about your product. I need to lose some weight. But I've been on there 6 months. So it's a long-term strategy. And it's just a little bit at a time. I spend 15 minutes a day, maybe 20 minutes a day. I do a quick 1 tweet and 1 blog, and I'm up to 120 tweets. Whoa. It's nothing. But for me, it's great because I'm learning and I'm starting to build an understanding. Have I got the payoff on it yet? Not in 3 months, not in 6 months. But if anybody can find a way for content to be added quickly and easily, you can help people get beyond the brochure on the website to an interactive relationship type of website.
One more quick question. Anybody? Anyone? Yes, sir.
So you mentioned before you were doing mostly advertising, and is the move to social media kind of like we have to make this work and the old methods aren't working, or did you take this up right from the beginning?
Well, of course, you have to have a website, and email, and all that stuff. But some of the other things, I mean, we recognize that this is a space for our community, so we have to be present. It's like going to trade shows. If you're not there, a lot of times you don't get anything out of it. But if you're not present, then people recognize you by your absence, at least in a small community of providers. So we've always had this as a strategy, but we didn't know how to do it. So part of what I've had to do is do some of my own training, right? And the best training is copy the experts. And then do a little bit of training. I went to Sean DePurin's TV boot camp and social media boot camp for 2 days, and that was amazing. Both to give her a plug and to let you know it was a high, incredible use of time. It's well worth the time. So it's like any other thing, any other new muscle. You got to start working it out and see how you're going to use it. And we see this; it's paying some dividends, and it's going to continue to pay dividends. And I'm a real busy person. I got a small company where there's just 3 of us, and yet I took the time out to develop this presentation and to think about this and propose this, and it has nothing to do with my product. Because I wanted to demonstrate to you, going back to your earlier question, this is an example of content marketing. Now I have a tool, and once I get some feedback, I'll tweak it and make it better and shorten it or whatever. Now I can go to other networking groups, and I can present myself with some subject matter expertise that helps people, generates questions, and then they hear my brand in a way other than me just trying to sell them. And that's what it's about. But it can't be everything. You still have all the other things you still got.
Thanks, AJ. Awesome. And some of the best nuggets come out of the Q&A, which is really, really great. Okay, now is the time we sort of introduce ourselves and say what we do and how we do it and that sort of thing. And I'll start very quickly. My name is Kevin Gillespie. I'm COO of Ingenix Digital Marketing. It's an awesome digital marketing think tank company that helps you spread your word near and far. A lot of content marketing and that sort of thing. I'm also a co-host of It's Your Business show on WAM on 1600. The show started last week, great response. We're looking for experts to join us on the show to help it's a do-it-yourself business show. So if people are interested in that, let me know. Also looking for sponsors. That's my plug. I'll hand the mic over to Carter. I know, but today I'm going to be first.
something wrong with that. Packing up French fry from my mouth. Carter Sherlock, Frogman Studios, and I'm a commercial portrait photographer.
Hey, I'm Monty Fowler. Good afternoon. I do freelance web design and social media.
My name is Brenda Feynman. I am in the marketing and communications department at the Betty Brigade, which is a service that specializes personal concierge service that specializes in organizing and moving.
I'm Debbie Dieter, and I'm membership and development for PTV Productions. We're a local theater troupe in Dixie for 17 years, just community theater.
Ian Saxon, Providence Makers, business advisor, and I concur in the principle that we put forth here today. Try to do something next time.
Hi, I'm Stacy from Dollar Bill Copying. We're the local digital print shop, and we're known for getting things done really fast.
I'm Doug Howell, Internet 2 Web Communications Manager, and I'm here with my wonderful colleague.
Hi, I'm Beth Miller, Internet 2 Marketing Communications Manager.
I'm Amber Diebler with BC Web Design, and we basically do everything what he was saying. We build relationships and we teach people how to use social media and how to update their content too, as well as websites.
Hi, my name is Gabby. I'm also an intern at BC Web Design and a student at the University of Michigan. So I'd love you to network and find out more about whatever your options there are.
Hi, my name is Dave Graff. I work with AJ at Lovingworks, and I'm manager of finance.
Hi, I'm Lauren Early. I manage customer service and distribution with Lovingworks.
My name is Brian Schilling. I'm an intern at Clarity Quest Marketing, and I do a lot of marketing communications, content marketing, and social media.
Hi, I'm Chris Farnham. I'm a senior user experience designer at ProQuest.
Hi, I'm Melanie Sparks, and I'm a student at Eastern. I'm in Bud Gibson's Marketing Practicum. I'm in the middle of a career change, and my major is CIS.
My name is David Waite, and I am a content coordinator at Genetics Digital Marketing.
My name is Lauren Schneider. I'm a student at Central Michigan University, and I'm an intern at Genetics Digital Marketing.
Hello, I'm Ross Johnson with 3.7 Designs. I'm just finishing up a book on web design, and I also co-run WordPress and Arbor. So anybody here who's interested in WordPress or uses WordPress, it's a free monthly group that meets the last Wednesday of every month. You can ask me about it afterwards. So that's everything to say.
Hi, I'm Mike Siglio, along with Melanie, also a student of BUDS. I'm also a social media and online media intern at City Drip Communications. If you're interested in optimizing your Google Place page, come see me after.
Hello, my name is John Porter. I'm a process control person looking for new customers. If anybody out there wants that process control work done, then see me.
I'm Cliff Sheldon with Amber State Bank.
Hi, I'm Jeremy King. I have two hats on today. One is I'm a recent grad from U of M with an MBA in marketing looking for full-time opportunities. Two, I'm on the board of directors of a small local nonprofit called 60 Mile Men that raises money for the Susan G. Komen 3-Day for the Cure. We're looking for somebody to help us develop a new e-commerce site.
I'm Roger Rail. Besides doing video here, I do it for A2 New Tech, although next week A2 New Tech will be showing a movie, so I don't have to do the video. It's going to be a movie about entrepreneurship and I think setting up kind of the history of Silicon Valley and the whole startup community there. Also, as most of you know, Summer Festival starts Friday, so see you out top of the park.
Hi, Susan Harris, technical writer, Internet Infrastructure and Engineering, formerly of Merit at U of M.
Hi, my name is Jim Overbeck, and I'm with 401 Systems. We're the hospital scheduling guys, so that we don't have to sit in the gown and wait for
Hi, I'm Beth Ressler, and I'm the marketing manager for the Ann Arbor Arts Center.
Hi, I'm Beth Heiss, and I help a business on Towels doing their sales, marketing, Facebook, social media, and I also teach business classes at Adrian College.
Hi, I'm Amy Ma. I do alternative energy, and but I also are working on a website that congregates some of the top diamond jewelry manufacturers in the world. And I'm looking for a PR expert for luxury goods. If anybody know of somebody, I would love to talk to the person. Thank you.
I'm Ken House with Technical Management Services. We work with marketing, management, and problem solving for a variety of technical issues.
Marketers, if you want to do advertising for your business, you got to know S4, Smart Social Sign Service. That's our Tiny Light business. My name is Changming Fan, inventor of Tiny Light, new product called Tiny Air Light. We're going to show, hopefully in 2 months here, how you guys can use our service, Smart Social Sign Service. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Timothy House. I'm a web marketing specialist for Information Lighthouse Marketing. And if you are looking for help to drive more interested prospects to your website or help getting those prospects to convert to new customers after they visit your website, then come see me. Thanks.
I'm Bud Gibson, creator of the Search Marketing Program at Eastern Michigan University. Mel and Mike are both my students, and all of my students give a little something extra. We learn search marketing by developing search marketing programs for nonprofit organizations, and we also help them optimize their web presence. So I'm sure that they would be very happy to consider volunteer opportunities for people looking for that who run nonprofits in the room.
It's tough to follow Bud because he usually has a complement of hundreds of students in the back. My name is Mark Reynolds, and I'm with growbiz.org. Two things. One is the Gettysburg Address, Lincoln's part of it, was 276 words. The guy before him that we all know and love spoke for at least an hour and a half. Guess which one we remember? So going back to AJ's piece, less is more. I've got a story, and if you want to hear about the Katrina Lexus, come talk to me after. Oh, yeah. I get to keep the microphone. I help a little bit with Derek and Kevin in helping place speakers. Next week's speaker is a really good one. Actually, there are two. I don't know the other one at all. But the one I do know is Marilyn Suttle. And Marilyn is going to talk about Gladys. And Gladys is about customer service. So it dovetails quite well with AJ's piece here. And come see her. She's a former president of the National Speakers Association, Michigan branch. So at least she'll know how to deliver as well as we're kind of used to here. So please come, and it's great material. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I'll point out, it's Lori Jo Vest and Marilyn Suttle are co-authors. It's okay. And Marilyn is fantastic. But they co-authored a book. It's called Who's Your Gladys? It's a book on how to make even your best or your worst, most difficult customer your biggest fan. It's a fantastic book. It's a fantastic talk. You'll really enjoy it. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Thanks again, AJ, for doing your thing. It was awesome. I loved it. And please come back next Wednesday. We're getting out of here on time because of our goals. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for all the interns also and the people from Gen X and all the interns involved.